Hello guys, this is a demonstration of how we can use LVM, that's Logical Volume Manager. If you see here on the left side, I'm showing an output of LSBLK. I can see there are 4 disks here: SDA, SDB, SDC and SDD. Out of them, SDA already has been used for installing the Linux, so I cannot use them. But I do have SDB, SDC and SDD. So these disks are free, so I can use them and put them in LVM, that's Logical Volume Manager. So when we use LVM, we have to first convert them into the physical volumes. So you see that we are going to convert SDB, SDC, SDD, all of them are 10 GB disks, into physical volumes. So all of them will be converted into 10 GB physical volumes. Later then I want to put them in one virtual group. It's generally called as a volume group, which is a virtual disk, you can call this as, which is going to be named as VG1, and the total size of this VG or volume group will be 10 plus 10 plus 10, that is 30 GB. Out of them I want to create 3 logical volumes, so let's say 15 GB, 5 GB and 10 GB. So let us see how we can do this. Now see the requirement here. I wanted to actually have the 15 GB disk, but unfortunately my disk size are 10 10 10. So even though I want to, I cannot have a 15 GB volume, and that's the reason why we are going for this requirement called as LVM. So let's start with the first part. The first part here is to create the physical volumes. I want to treat SDB, SDC and SDD as physical volumes, and this can be done by using a command pvcreate. Before I use the pvcreate, I want to use the command pvs to see what are the existing physical volumes available on my machine. I see there is only one, which is /dev/sda2, which is here creating, using that partition as a logical volume, and I can see that within that we have created 2 logical volumes here. Okay, so now let's create our first physical volume by saying sudo pvcreate, and then I want to create them like /dev/sdb, that's the first one. Again I can say /dev/sdc, that's the second one, and /dev/sdd, that's it. So I have created all of them as physical volumes. So if I want to see like all the physical volumes here, I can say sudo pvs. Pvs shows me that these are the physical volumes that we have created. If you want to see the more details about them, all the attributes about them, you can say sudo pvdisplay like this, and pvdisplay, and this will show me the SDA2, which was already been converted into physical volume, already has been added into VG, that's volume group, as Fedora. Right now we have just created 3 physical volumes, SDB, SDC and SDD. All of them are 10 GB and none of them are a part of any volume group yet. It's fine. So now we have those physical volumes created. If I look at LSBLK again, you see that all of them are disks. It's not showing LVM anywhere, but that's fine because both of them, or rather all of them, are disks. It's fine. So if I go for sudo again pvs, I can see all of them are treated as physical volumes. Now I want to create one volume group which is going to have those physical volumes inside one single group of 30 GB. So the command here is vgcreate, but before I use that vgcreate, I'm going to use the vgs command. Like pvs, there is a command called as a vgs, which shows the existing volume groups. Seems like there is one volume group called as a Fedora, which is having a size almost like 127 GB. Within this volume group, we can see there are 2 volumes created. One was Fedora and the other one was swap. Here I can see this VGS, or this VG called as Fedora, which has already been used by that SDA, which can be seen here, in fact SDA2 precisely. So I want to go for using that SDB, SDC and SDD and put them inside one VG group, and this can be done by saying sudo again vgcreate, and the name of your group, which is like VG1, and those disks which you want to put inside this. So maybe I can say this is /dev/sdb /dev/sdc, and again /dev and /sdd. So I'm adding all the 3 physical volumes inside one volume group called as VG1, which is kind of shown here. So if I create this, and if I say sudo VGS, it shows me that there is one VG or volume group created with the name VG1, which is almost like 30 GB. I mean, it's not exactly going to be 30. It's going to reserve few bytes for information about the volume group. So it's almost like 30 GB, which is having, you know, 3 physical volumes inside it. If you really want to see the details of that, again, like PV display, there is a VG display. So you go for VG display and probably it will show you all the information about VG1 here. So the format is LVM2, right? The metadata area is 3 because there are 3 physical volumes that we have added there. This is read and write, okay? It's resizable. If you tomorrow want to add one more physical volume in it, you can, and so on and so forth. So I can see the size is going to be like almost like 30 GB, and the free is almost like, you know, 30 GB here. So I want to go back here and start creating, you know, 3 logical volumes inside that volume group. So let me go back here. Like PVS and VGS, there is LVS, which shows the existing logical volumes. Right now we have got 2 existing logical volumes. One was root, the other one was swap, you know. So if you look at the LSBLK, you can see the same here. This is my logical volume, that's LVM, which is created right here for mounting the slash or the root, which is almost like 125 GB. And there's another one, LVM, which is a swap, which is almost like 2 GB, and collectively it is 127 GB. So that's the existing configuration. Now I added that SDB, SDC, SDD into one volume group like VG1. I want to carve few logical volumes out of this. So my requirement here is to create 3 logical volumes, like one is 15 GB, the other one is 5 GB, and the last one is 10 GB. Okay, let's see how do we do it. It's going to be like sudo LV create. The commands are very simple here. PV create for physical volume creation, VG create for volume group creation, and LV create for logical volume creation. So LV create -n for name. Maybe I can call this as, you know, my data 1, which is going to be having a size of, let's say, 15 GB. Let's go for 15 GB now, and probably I want to create it inside VG1. So this will create new my data volume, logical volume, which is of 15 GB. So if you go for LVS again, you will see that there is one created called as my data 1 inside VG1 here. So if you look at LV display and say VG1, so you will see all the volume groups, all the logical volumes created inside VG1, and I can see that this is VG1 created inside this is my data 1 created inside VG1 here. So things are looking good. So this is of 15 GB. Now let me create the second one as well. I'm going to use the previous command here, which is going to create 5 GB my data 2, and one more, let's say 10 GB, let's say my data 3. So probably okay, it seems like I cannot use the entire data here, so maybe I can change it to almost like 9.5. So hopefully that can sufficiently get the last remaining bytes inside that volume group VG1. So now if I go back again and say sudo LV display and say VG group. When you are going for LV display, you can say which VG group you want to display all the logical volumes. So mine is VG1. It shows that within that VG1 I have got 3 different data, or you can say the logical volumes, that my data 1, which is of 15 GB, my data 2, which is almost like 5 GB, and my data 3, which is almost like 10 GB. So seems like we have got all the logical volumes created. Now if you see here, all those are loaded, or you can say mapped inside /dev/VG1. So if I go for LSBLK again, it shows me this SDB, SDC, SDD, all of them are the part of one logical one volume group VG1, and out of them we have created 15 GB, 5 GB, and 10 GB. Now if you notice here that VG1 my data 1, which was of 15 GB, it couldn't get one single disk out of that physical volume, because they all are of 10 GB, and that's the reason some data or some bytes have been allocated here, some bytes allocated here, and some bytes allocated, it seems like some bytes are allocated here and here. So seems like 10 plus 10, 20. So it seems like from more or less 10 GB are getting here and 5 GB are getting here. That's what I'm guessing here, you know. So if you are looking at the logical volume, which is of 5 GB, it's kind of going on the next disk and it is taking the 5 GB here. and remaining 10 GB, it's kind of getting splitted in the second and the third disk here. So however it is getting created, that's not something we should be worried about. For me, three LVs or logical volumes have been created successfully, and this is what I was looking for. So how do I format them? How do I use them? So to use them, again, I want to create a file system on them. So again, it's going to be like sudo, the command is same, mkfs.ext4. the only difference here is it's not going to be directly available for you. It should be loaded under the VG group. So inside VG group, I've got three of them. So this is my data 1, my data 2, and my data 3. So now I have got three volumes created, and those three volumes are now having the file system in them. I can go back to my MNT and create three disks. So maybe I can say disk 1, okay, disk 2, and disk 3. So I've got three disks created. Sorry, I need to get the sudo permissions, and on top of them I want to map the logical volumes. So mapping is going to be exactly similar to what we have done. So it's going to be like mount /dev /vg1 /my data 1, and then this is mnt disk 1. So probably it's going to be mounted on disk 1. This is going to be mounted on disk 2, and this is going to be mounted on disk 3. So if you go back here and if I say sudo find mnt, it will be shown here that disk 1, disk 3, disk 2 and disk 3, these are my mount points having VG1, that's my data 1, VG2 my data 2, and VG1 my data 2, and VG1 my data 3. So these are my logical volumes. Think about them as kind of the partitions that we have created, and those partitions are almost 15 GB, 5 GB and 10 GB. Each of them are having ext4 on them. So now if you want, you can put them in FSDAP and get them mounted at the boot time as well. So the updating FSDAP is going to be same as the other video there. So probably this is a small demo which shows you how we can use that LVM and show or maybe get the disk added into LVM, create them as a physical volumes, put them in a volume group, and how do we create logical volumes out of them. Okay, thank you guys.